share some information, hopefully to have a little fun and then have some interaction. Today, I got some friends with me. I don't know if you guys have been with us the past couple of presentations. I'm not going to talk as much this time, so I'm going to let some other people talk this time. But my good friend Jude and my good friend Marva are going to come and do some presentations. Jude's going to be doing some food is good medicine presentation. He works at UIHS. He'll be telling you more about that. Marva is going to do a little bit of a recipe. Definitely one of the best cooks I know. She brings all kinds of good traditional knowledge and food stuff going on. She is constantly bringing food to different ceremonies, different events that we do. So she's a really good person to come and talk about that. In the middle of those presentations, I'm going to show my face. I'll tell a story because that's what I do. We'll do a little bit of movement in there too, just to kind of get us from presenter to presenter, because we're going to be sitting and watching a lot. So we're going to move a little bit too. With that, I'm going to let my good friend Jude take over. Here he is.
How's it going, everyone? Again, my name is Jude Marshall. I work at United Indian Health Services as the Community Nutrition Manager. I've been there for, I think, 11 years. Yeah, I'm Hoopa, Yurok, and Kaduk. I grew up in Hoopa and also along the Klamath and Trinity Rivers, and also had some time out here on the coast as a kid. I live in McKinleyville, which is Humboldt County, Northern California. We're about 2 hours from the Oregon border along the coast. So since graduated high school and I started college, I've been out here on the coast with my family. I have a beautiful wife. Her name's Wendy. She works for the Yurok tribe in the social services, and I have 3 children. Hazel Marshall, who's 11. I have another daughter, Yamich, who's almost 4. And my youngest, my son, Kavish, who is almost 2. So with the Zoom life and everything, we're just been, my wife works from home Monday through Friday. I get 1 day working from home. So I'm actually presenting out of my bedroom. So if you hear kids, if I have to run real quick, or you hear kids knocking on the door or something, bear with me, because I might have to, every once in a while, it seems like they like to get on right when you start a presentation. That's when they really want to bang on things and yell and get in there. So yeah, thank you, Ernie, for inviting me to be part of this conference, as well as Melissa. Today, I'm going to be just sharing my work that I do at United Indian Health Services, giving people just some ideas of what we do in our program, and something that maybe hopefully you can take back to your community and apply it. So I'm going to start my presentation. I'm going to do a PowerPoint today and yeah, go through that. Let's see here. Share screen. Can everyone, is my screen shared right now?
Yeah, I could just see your Zoom stuff right now.
Okay. The Zoom bar is like blocking the upper thing I'm trying to open. Let's see. Sorry about this, it takes a second. I thought I had my PowerPoint up. My computer was acting up before I had to log out and log back in, so I hope we don't have any issues. There you go. Yeah, so before I talk about my program, I'd like to just cover where we're at. United Indian Health Services. It's an Indian Health Service clinic. It was established in 1970. It's a nonprofit family practice. Humble beginnings. It started with Native women coming together who were seeing inadequate health care for their families. So, either Native people their family wasn't going to the doctors, or they were going and not getting the proper treatment. So the 9 tribes that are part of United Indian Health Services in Del Norte, Humboldt County, which is the Talo Adani Nation, Elk Valley Rancheria, Rezagini Rancheria, the Yurok tribe, Trinidad Rancheria, Blue Lake Rancheria, Wiyot tribe, Bear River Rancheria. I feel like I'm missing one tribe. I know that I always seem to miss one when you do this. So if anybody out there knows, you could put it in the chat if I missed a tribe. Getting back to how we started, the 9 tribes put their Indian Health Service funds into this UIHS nonprofit, and we provide, the beginning, we worked out of offices out of Eureka. We had some satellite clinics in Wichpec, and then we got established in Trinidad at the Surai village until 2001. So we were operating kind of almost out of like mobile trailers at Trinidad, and we were growing population up here, and we were growing out of that facility, and that's when our leadership started looking for new places to relocate, and they found property in Arcata, which is central to our 9 tribes, and they bought the 40 acres of property, and that vision of what Potawatomi House Village is, I'm going to be sharing that, and also what our garden program is. Some of the services we provide are dental, medical, behavioral health. Our tribal public health program, which is our community nutrition program, it has I compare it to like a social services. We grant funded program. We offer diabetes, suicide prevention, tobacco prevention. We have our CHRs. We have our, what else? We have an elder nutrition program up north of us. So that's, we do all that community outreach through that program. We help make United Indian Health Services more than just a place where you get your Band-Aid, a place where you get your prescriptions. It's that sense of community that we build here at UIHS. A place of our own is a saying we have. That was the concept why we built the clinic like our traditional plank house, why we, if you ever gone to our clinic, we have our native artists work is inside. Just a place we want our clients to feel like it is theirs, and we want them to come and get their services here. And then part of that is, with that service, that holistic healthcare is our Potawatomi Community Food Garden. I'm going to go into our nutrition program. Before I, just want to talk about a little bit about our staff. To the far right, Ed Mata, he's been with our garden program since 2001, 2002. And he came in with the state parks. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about that when we did the restoration work here on the property. And it's been instrumental. Ed Mata, he's just been part of this community for a long time. He does traditional fish cooks. He has the gardening knowledge. He's just been a rock with our program and really helped establish a lot of those relationships we built throughout the years. Johnny Giovanetti in the blue sweatshirt, he is our garden technician. He's been with us for 3 years. He's used to work in landscaping. He does a little bit of everything at the garden, helps out Ed and T. Lena Mccovey in the middle in the white, she is our community nutrition assistant. Like I said, our program's grant funded, so we have funding through CalFresh, through the county, and also recently through the Crib Acorns program, which is about reducing diabetes, obesity, chronic diseases. So Lena does a lot of that nutrition education, connecting the garden to connecting traditional foods to the community. So she's, healthy cooking as well. So at our farmers markets, before COVID, we used to do a taste test at every market. I'll be sharing a little more about that concept. Lena's also a traditional basket weaver. So she just has, a lot of knowledge that she's always, shares out to our community. T in the red sweatshirt, she is, her husband Marnin was actually the first gardener hired at UIHS. So she has connections to the beginning as well. She's been with us since 2007. She used to worked on an organic farm before she came over to Potawatomi, and she also used to run the Arcata Farmers Market, which is a really big farm. We have a really big farmers market here in Humboldt, and a lot of small organic farms grow food up this way. And T is just like, she's the right hand person to Ed. They really balance each other out. She does our beekeeping. She does a lot of the, she's the one that emails me when I need someone to respond to an email. Getting Ed or Johnny to check their emails on a regular basis is just something not in their toolbox right now. Trudy, she's another community nutrition assistant. Her and Lena work together in tandem a lot on things. She has really big on holistic healthcare as well, and preventative healthcare. And she also, like, on the office side of things, with my work, we do a lot of community outreach, marketing, all that kind of side of things to get people to our garden, managing our KY account, those kind of things. So Trudy's just a big help for myself and on the office side of things and in our program. As myself, I'm the community nutrition manager. Like I said, I do manage the grants. I attend all those meetings that need to do to keep our program going here at the Indian Health Service Clinic. I do a lot of marketing, networking, working with volunteers. I'm working closely with Humboldt State this semester on just getting some projects going at the garden. Our garden was established in 1999, so it's over 20 years old, and it's just time to look at where we're going in the next 5 to 20 years. So I'm kind of working on that. A little bit about my background. I graduated at Humboldt State with a recreation degree, and I minor in Native American Studies. And I worked at UIHS part-time while I was going to school at Humboldt State as a terrestrial land management technician. I call that just a fancy name for a landscaper. But no, I did do terrestrial land management. I did native plant restoration, invasive plant removal, and then general landscaping while I was going to Humboldt State. And I remember when I had that job, and I was friends with actually the former community nutrition manager, and I just really thought, how awesome is that job that she had, and I was just like, that's just a great job. I didn't think I would be in this position to have this job because she had a nutrition degree. I just assumed that you needed a nutrition degree to run this program. I really always had a passion about food and healthy nutrition, but once I changed my diet kind of towards the end of my college years, I really saw a transformation of myself, and I really got into nutrition, but I didn't take those classes. So I just kind of assumed I can't get that job. So anyways, after I graduated at Humboldt State, I worked for the Yurok tribe doing the social work program and the TANF program as an employee self-sufficient, employment technician, helping clients reach self-sufficiency, doing a lot of community work, and then also as a grant writer for the Yurok tribe. So while I was going up to Klamath from, commuting an hour a day, one day I saw this job opening and it didn't require a nutrition degree. So I applied, and just with my work at UIHS and the work in the community, I got in here, and I'm really fortunate to have this job. And I really, this kind of work and doing these kind of presentations always fires me up, gets me motivated to keep going for that change that we're trying to make in our Native communities around healthy nutrition, food sovereignty, food security. So this is a little bit about what our program goals are. Increasing access to affordable, fresh, healthy produce through the garden. So all of our produce is lower than what you'll see at the farmers market or at the grocery store. The clinic subsidizes our budget, so we can provide cheaper produce. So we want our clients to buy our produce, so then hopefully on their own they'll buy it themselves when they're out in the grocery store, farmers market, or growing their own food. We do nutrition education, and then we do education aimed at increasing food-related self-sufficiency. So that's everything from gardening workshops to canning workshops to traditional foods presentations to cooking. Everything around being self-sufficient around and with food. So before we get into our program, what we do, I always like to make sure I acknowledge the founders of our garden. this was a Nutritional Resource Advisory Committee. There's some people in here that are no longer here. But they had a vision about what the clinic was going to be, the Pottawat Health Village, and what the garden was going to be like. And it was their vision. They worked with our engineers on what was going to be planted around the garden, on the property, what the design was going to look like. And, you know, that food is good medicine concept of being an educational garden for our community, and then providing healthy access to fresh, healthy foods, and yeah, just being a resource for our community. So they had that vision, and I just really, you know, without their vision and all their work and their prayers and everything that they put into that, to what it is, that is what it is today because of them. We wouldn't probably be here if they didn't, our program wouldn't be here if it wasn't for their vision and their hard work. So this is kind of like just a little bit about what Kawadawealth, that's our garden is on. It means it comes back to life in the Wiat language. So this little, you know, the upper left-hand corner, you can see this is when the garden first started. You could see how arid and dry the land was. You could actually see the clinic from the garden. So if you ever come out to our garden, you'll see that there's so much growth, so much life that has happened since UHS bought this property and started the restoration efforts. On the bottom of the slide there, you'll see this is kind of when the clinic probably first opened around 2001, 2002. The garden, you could see where we dug out the swales. This was all like, before UHS bought this property, this was cattle pasture. So when settlers came, they took this land and they you know, raised cattle, and I think it was also a potato farm. So they tried to flatten everything out. And when we bought the property, they saw in the surveys and everything that there used to be swells here. So we wanted, you know, with our philosophy, health of the environment equals health of the people. So what is that? So how can we actually put that into play? So we need to restore the land as a model for other tribes and non-tribal people to look at this, and hopefully they'll take this and apply that to their property or their business or their land. So then on the right-hand side, you'll see this was probably 2015 aerial shot, how much growth everything's happened here at Pottawat Health Village. And you can see our garden, we started with 2 greenhouses. Now we have 4 greenhouses. I always like to point out, so our UHS clinic is right next to Mad River Community Hospital. So that's where a lot of our clients go to for childbirth, for surgeries, for x-rays, all those things that our clinic doesn't provide as a family practice. So when our garden started, there was none of the healthcare facilities around here had a food program, a garden program. St. Joseph's, Open Door, Mad River, none of them had that. And all of them have it now, but I always like to contribute, you know, the elders and that Nutritional Resource Advisory Committee, along with our UHS leadership, on that vision of making Pottawat happen. I think Mad River was looking over the fence and saying, oh man, look what's going on over there, Pottawat Health Village. That's awesome. So now they have a garden program. They're also trying to get trails and established on their property there. And it's a really good relationship. We share volunteers, we share tools, we let them borrow our rototiller. They sometimes let us borrow their equipment. And, you know, like this last year, we had a harvest party. They grew pumpkins, we didn't. So they had actually donated pumpkins for our clients. So it's a great relationship to have with Mad River Community Hospital. So as this presentation, food is good medicine, you know, that's what I really, anytime I do a presentation, you're going to hear me say that, talk about it, because it's so vital to the work we do and so important. So I'm just going to give some examples from each photo, what food is good medicine. And this is just, there's so many more examples out there, what food is good medicine. I know everybody out there probably has a story to tell. So the middle picture, we were at Farmers Market in Klamath, the Klamath Salmon Festival. And at our farmers market, any farmers market we do, there's a lot of social interaction happening, right? There's the customers gets to talk to the gardener, asking them questions. What, how'd you grow this food? When's the best time to harvest? There's a lot of that interaction that happens. There's a lot of interaction that happens between the customers themselves. It's just that it creates that environment. There's a study that came out that people who go to the farmer's market interact 7 times more than people who go to a grocery store. And I see that when I go to the grocery store, I don't really talk to anybody. I'm just going to get my groceries, especially now with COVID, right? Everybody's kind of doing, staying to themselves. But at farmer's market, there's just more opportunity for people to talk. And that's really important, that social connection for all of us to have. And even we did farmer's market this last year, everyone wore masks and we had a whole new setup. There was still, that social community feeling there, even with our masks and even with COVID. We were outside, open air, and, took all of our precautions. On the bottom, is actually my wife. She was volunteering at one of our volunteer days. So we do big volunteer days at the garden. Probably one of my kids is in the back there in that stroller, watching, probably taking a nap as we're volunteering, as the volunteer event was happening. So just having that, we're open to people coming to our garden and giving back and learning about gardening through hands-on activities. On the upper left-hand corner, my left, is we do have community drop-ins at our garden. So any community member could come in and volunteer. And this is one of our volunteers coming in and helping us harvest our raspberries. And also we always send our volunteers with food. So if we have food harvested for that day, they could take that home for themselves and their family or community. On the bottom left-hand corner is an event that I put on a few years ago. It was a Native Foodways event. This was around our eels, our Pacific lamprey. So we provided a healthy meal. We prepared eels a couple different ways. We made a smoked eel chowder. We provided barbecue eels, and we had a healthy salad to go with it and some other healthy food. And it was like a community talk. We let community members share their stories around eels. We had a couple of elders facilitating it, the gathering. And it was really, really awesome event. I really want to do more of those kind of events around our traditional foods. People were, just able to share their stories. And I think that's really important, passing on that knowledge around our traditional foods. And then in the kitchen, they were, this was Kella, Liz and Lena were helping prepare the meal, and they're laughing and just enjoying themselves cooking a meal. And that's, to me, is like food is good medicine, like that gathering, preparing meal for your community, for your family, for yourself. And Marva's going to probably share a little more, go in depth on that. So looking forward to hearing her presentation. Bottom right-hand corner, we do bee education. This is at our UHS summer camp. Really important to educate our youth about bees and how that really helps with our food security. If they say if we didn't have bees, if you look at your plate, only 30% of your food on your plate would be there if we didn't have, if the bees were not around, so they're really important for our food systems. Upper right-hand corner is one of our interns that we had a few summers ago, Donald Moore. He's a young Native man. He's really, passionate about bringing food sovereignty to his tribal community. So that's really, I just want to point that out. We really need more of our youth getting into this, and I actually see it happening right now. So it is happening, but it really gets me excited when I see youth who are really passionate about getting establishing food sovereignty in their tribal communities, because you can't have sovereignty without food sovereignty, right? You need to be able to feed yourselves, and there's also all these other health benefits that happen to the environment and the community when we have food sovereignty. Just real quick, the importance of, how's this garden just healthy for the community? It actually, could even help towards suicide prevention. According to the CDC, social connection is really important, right? Social support and connection are key to protective factors against suicide. Positive and supportive social relationships and community connections can help buffer the effects of risk factors in people's lives. Programs and practices that promote social connectedness and support are one element of a comprehensive approach to suicide prevention. So there is no, suicide's, really high in Indian country, and there's not one thing that's going to fix, the high suicide rates. It's a whole comprehensive approach. And this is just, getting our tribal members, our youth connected to food, I feel like is one really good way, towards preventing suicide. If you care about what you're putting in your body, you may care about, living a long life. So this is gonna give you a little bit of an overview of what our garden is about, kind of almost like a little virtual tour. So our garden is a 3-acre garden. It's organically grown. We're not organic certified because we're not trying to sell our produce outside of the clinic. But we do follow all the organic growing practices. But to grow our food, we really depend a lot on our volunteers. We have like 3-acre garden is a lot to manage. So this was taken pre-COVID. This was 2 summers ago. We didn't have to wear a mask. We were out. Every summer we put on a volunteer appreciation barbecue and honor our volunteers for the work that they do. And we're lucky where our garden is actually surrounded by residential housing. So a lot of our consistent volunteers are like retirees, or they live a minimalist lifestyle. So they come out and they volunteer at the garden. They have that time. And then we also, work with tribal programs like NCIDC. In the summer, they'll place youth at our garden, or we've been working with Intertribal Ag Council, getting interns like Donald Moore, I shared about. And then we work with Humboldt State. So we just have a whole different variety of volunteers that come out to the garden. That at NT are really good at patching it together, and they always find something for the garden, for someone who comes to the garden, something for them to do. This is our fruit tree orchard. We have over 100 fruit trees. We have a bunch of different varieties of different fruit trees. They were actually donated to us to the UC Extension. So we have apples, apple pears, plums, frost peach. And by having the different varieties, we're able to have a lot of different kinds of apples throughout the season. So we have some apples that kind of grow, come in like midsummer, and then we have apples that are actually coming in like early winter that we're still having apples. So that's really good for our clients to just be able for us to provide those kind of food for them. This is our educational garden. It used to be a native plant nursery. When that program dissolved, T wanted to establish this as an educational garden for like school field trips. And also, with one thing I'm working on is trying to get more of our clients out to our garden on a consistent basis. So we have worked with our behavioral health at UHS, trying to get their AOD program out to the garden. We had like 2 years where it was pretty consistent for the summer months and spring months. And that was really awesome to see them connecting with the garden. And you could see all the healing that was happening. One year they actually grew catnip in these planter boxes and sold catnip pillows at our UHS Arts and Crafts Fair. They started actually coming to our farmers market more and buying the food when they were out here volunteering in the garden. So we plan on working with UHS programs to get more programs out here in the near future, because we really, that's what we want. We want our clients out here getting all the benefits of growing their own food and learning how to do that. This is our herb garden. We grow herbs in here. We have European culinary and native plants in here that we grow as an educational place. And also we harvest them and make a potawat tea, a common tea. In this tea, we have chamomile, lemon verbena, lemon balm, and peppermint. So it's a really nice tea that we offer, and usually in the fall, winter months. We dry them in our greenhouse. We have a big dehydration box in our greenhouse that we dry these herbs. And this is also a place to rest. So when our volunteers need to get out of the sun, they can sit on the bench and rest. And we also have, some of our programs come out and actually have team meetings out here in the herb garden. We have 4 100-foot greenhouses. This gives us almost year-round opportunity to grow food at our garden. some of the things we can't grow on the coast that now with the greenhouse we can grow: our tomatoes, our peppers, more things that need more heat. And it's more controlled environment. So sometimes we'll actually get an early harvest of, say, summer squash. We'll grow it. We had summer squash this last year in May because we used the greenhouse and we got them planted earlier than we normally would if we were just planting outside. So anyone that is doing a garden program, having a greenhouse really gives you a lot more options for growing food and gives you a longer season. We also use our greenhouse to dry things like our garlic and our onions, as well as our tea, like I said earlier. This is our spring activities. This right here is our hardening table, where once we get our starts out of our greenhouse, we let them sit here for about 1 to 2 weeks, usually close to 2 weeks, to get them adapted to the environment before we put them in the ground. During the springtime, we're doing our propagation right now. So if you look in our greenhouse, this is kind of what it kind of looks like right now. This is an older photo, but a lot of our starts are growing, getting them ready for the garden. We also do a garden starts giveaway that I'm going to touch on here in one of the upcoming slides. We also put on volunteer events for the garden, getting ready. This is Cesar Chavez Day. We worked with HSU before COVID. We used to get like 100 plus volunteers out in the garden March 31st. But we are going to have our event. It's just going to be a lot smaller this year. So garden starts giveaway. Yeah, so not everybody can make it to our farmers market. We serve 9 tribes. Humboldt, down north are pretty good sized counties. And so to help with the people who can't make it to our market, we started the Garden Starts giveaway, and that's to promote home garden and food security. So we go to Wetchpec, our outlying clinics. So one is Wetchpec, and we do Starts giveaway there. We go to Klamath, Crescent City. We're actually going to do one here at Potawatomi this year for the first time. And I'd like to say, when I first started our Starts giveaway, we actually used to leave Starts in Wetchpec because people would come and we'd have extras and we'd leave them there for the community. Every year, we've been doing last 5-6 years, every year it's gotten more and more popular. And last year, due to COVID and everything, we did a drive-through style and we're out of starts within 30 minutes. So that to me shows that our community is getting more into growing their own food. And, this year I'm with my Acorns grant that I'm doing. We're actually going to work on documenting our starts giveaway, because I know it's making a difference. I hear people tell me, we started canning because we got your starts, and we started we started really getting into gardening. We started donating our produce to ceremonies. We started sharing with our neighbors. So I just want to get that more documented and then just share that information out with our board and our community on how, these starts can make a difference and help get other tribal communities to want to do a similar event like this. I think giving out starts to your tribal community is really important, really helps get that, get them established on getting their garden going. So there's a lot of health benefits to gardening, right? So it helps decrease heart disease and diabetes. It makes you happy. A lot of times, especially now where we are inside looking at our screens. So I'm sure a nature deficit disorder is going to be something we really got to focus on from here till probably, long as technology is around, it's something that we're going to have to combat. And I think getting our youth, our tribal members, our community outside more, the more the better, right? Can never be outside enough. It keeps your mind sharp, and then even can help you sleep better. Summer activities, one of our volunteers does our flowers. She is just dedicated to our flowers, and during the summer, it's so awesome to come in. It's like a garden utopia. When we come into our garden, we have these flowers coming into the entrance. It's really nice. Also, it's our farmers market season, June through October. I worked with our marketing person to help us make this, we want our clients to come to our market. So how, as far as me, is I want to make our work attractive. So right now we're also getting more video out there and educating our community through social media. Here's just some pictures of the produce, what we grow at our farmers market. We want to make sure our community wants the food. Oops, I accidentally put that picture backwards. Sorry about that. So yeah, like our strawberries, those are our best seller. Those what bring in our clients to our market a lot of times, or lemon cucumbers are sweeter crops, but then we get them to buy the leafy greens, the collards or the cauliflower or the broccoli. Just a few more photos of our produce. Where does our produce go, right? Our diabetes program actually buys KOA memberships, which is like a CSA. So it's like a credit account, right? They put $50 down. They're in our books and they get a number and they come out and they buy their produce from us at a discounted rate. We get it up, we donate to our elder nutrition program. We have our farmers markets twice a week. We're a certified farmers market, so we have an EBT machine. We accept EBT, CalFresh at our market and WIC vouchers, and we also do market match. So if you use your EBT, we'll match that for up to $20. So if you spend $10 of produce, you'll get another $10 of free produce. We also UHS client and staff functions. They'll buy produce from us or we'll donate it to their event. And then we also donate to tribal ceremonies and events. And that is really important to help get some of these healthy foods to our tribal ceremonies. And then taste tests. So that's been really important. Having the taste test has been vital to getting our clients to try new recipes, giving them ideas on how to prepare their food. I know I grew up only eating summer squash. It was rolled in flour and fried in industrial seed oil. So now I don't ever prepare summer squash like that. So because of this farmer's market and me, learning how to different ways to prepare summer squash, it's given me a lot of ideas on healthier ways to prepare it. So that's the thing. And then a lot of times, whatever we highlight in our farmer's market is usually, in our taste test, is usually our best seller in our farmer's market. So if there's something that's not selling well, we just have a bumper crop, we'll put that in our taste test. This last year, we did not have the taste test. So that was kind of hard, but we still did pretty well in our sales. Fall and winter activities. This time we do our cover crop. This is a nitrogen fixer to our soil. It's an organic growing method. It helps your soil not get the hard pan. It keeps it, and it also puts nutrients in the soil. So some of the things we have in that is like fava beans, vetch, rye, all those kind of legumes. It's like a mixture that our garden puts together. And like right now, we're starting to get ready to plant, when the soil is at a certain moisture and the sun's out, Ed or Johnny will till up the cover crop, and then we'll start getting ready to plant. It also helps with the runoff as well. So like a lot of conventional big farms, and you hear about like these big farms, like the runoff going into the water systems is because they're not following organic growing methods. They're not having a cover crop, so they have a hard pan and they're using synthetic fertilizers, and that all runs into the water systems that creates those algae blooms that kill our fish and makes our waterways not healthy. It's also the time we do our strawberry planting, so that's our secret. We plant in the fall, and through the struggle of winter, they come out in the springtime. Really, just you could see like really big strawberries, really sweet. We do stress watering, so we don't overwater our strawberries. Maybe once a week. They're all hooked up to drip line, and we have to, stain on the weeding and all the TLC that our gardeners and our volunteers put into there. We're known to have some of the best strawberries in our area. Don't have to add sugar on them. They're just really naturally sweet. And then also, from our defective strawberries, our defective fruit, we cut off the bad and we freeze it. And then we also do canning in the fall, winter months, and then we sell our jam at the farmer's market. It's just a way of making sure we're making use of our we're not letting things go to waste. So and that helps support the garden. Also during this time, we do during the winter and early spring, we do fruit tree pruning, and this is a workshop that Ed's doing for our community, and we are still pruning fruit trees right now. Helps get the healthier produce, better tasting produce as well. Also, it's like during the winter time, we're doing a lot of this time. We do more workshops during the fall and winter because we have a little more time. This is a dehydration workshop, how to preserve your harvest through dehydration. When you grow a garden, like you get all this food, right? You either can it, you give it away, but also dehydrating is another way of preserving your harvest. And a lot of our staff have gone through the Master Food Preservers program through the UC Extension, which is usually about a 6-week program. And it's really good. You get to learn all the sciences behind canning and the different ways to preserve your food. I just wanted to throw this one in there. Worked with Ernie years ago. We did a Native Foodways Crockpot Series cooking class, and everybody has, usually almost every Native family has a crockpot. So we thought that was a really good good cooking class series because we'd prepare the meal beforehand, so they got to do the eat the meal at the day of the workshop, and then Ernie would share a story and also teach them how to prepare that meal. We also do, like I said, traditional foods education. Traditional foods are good medicine. I'm not share too much because I know Marva's going to talk about this in her presentation. So just like this quote from Nephi Craig, he's an executive chef in the fine dining restaurants in the White Mountain Apache. He said that Native people are emerging from what he calls the great interruption in their foodways. Pre-contact, we were expert farmers, hunters, gatherers, fishermen, and cooks. Then we suffered a violent clash of cultures that lasted 500 years and ended in the reservation system and cheap, high-fat, high-carbohydrate commodity foods. They in turn produce rampant killers, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. As a result, he says healing is the most important ingredient in Native cuisine. Why is traditional foods education important? You get physical activity, you get to be outdoors, you get that connection and appreciation of food, knowing the seasons, connection to culture, and a feeling of belonging. Willard Carlson, a Yurok elder, stated, teaching youth traditional skills helps bring the community together and also helps them combat social, health, and environmental issues facing the tribe. Here's another workshop. We just doing a fall planting workshop, teaching about cover crops and soil amendments. Just want to put out there, I'm not a gardener. I learned from Ed and T. I've been, taking pieces here and there from what they share, and I like, sharing this out when I do tours and doing presentations like this. So I don't know a lot of the real detailed gardening questions, but Ed and T are a resource to Native communities, not only just our community, but you can always reach out to us and we'll do our best to help answer your gardening questions. Also, our garden's a place for where we have community gatherings. This was a few years ago when the No DAPL, the protest in South Dakota was happening at Standing Rock. And a lot of our community was over there, and the HSU ITEP club wanted to do a sunrise ceremony to send prayers over there in solidarity for what was going on. And they were looking for a place, and they said, the Potawatomi Garden, that's the place I feel like where we can do this for the community. So I just like to point out, like when you have a garden space, it could be more than just a place where you're growing food. It's a place, where healing happens, where community gatherings can happen as well. And also a place where you can have fun with the youth. We do some youth workshops. We did one on around bees a few years ago. We always have our annual harvest party where the kids get to do fun games, Halloween games. They do nutrition and gardening activities, traditional foods activities, traditional storytelling at our event. And then we send the kids home with a pumpkin as part of that. A lot of our outlying tribal schools they'll travel a couple hours just to come to our harvest party so they can, have fun and they get to experience the garden. So I think really it's our big event of the year. And that's, so just, wanted to wrap it up really quick, self-care and wellness, everything I shared, preventative care is self-care. Building community and social connectedness is pivotal to providing wellness. Like I said earlier, use our examples. I shared a lot. This is over 20 years of work And some of the things I shared didn't happen all in 1 year. There's just some things happened a few years ago, but I just wanted to give the community, give everyone here just some ideas that they can bring back to their area. And if you cannot implement some of these garden activities, try to find a local organic garden or farm, and maybe, you know, getting your clients, your travel community out there. You know, there are more avenues for self-care than we may realize, but these are just a few I wanted to share. And just remember, food is good medicine. So that's my presentation for today. Thank you all for listening. Stop share.
Thank you, Jude. Just to add to that, the garden is super awesome. Jude and I have partnered on a few things. I'll usually do storytelling at the harvest parties. This last year, they had a drive-through harvest party, and they had just different booths of people dressed up and different goodies to give to kids. And it was like the highlight of my kids' Halloween, the harvest party, being able to drive through and have all the, you know, have all the things that are that were kind of normal. But regularly, there's usually hundreds of kids out there, and it's insane the amount of stuff that's going on and opportunities that they have to share with those kids on that day. So that's definitely my favorite thing that happens at the garden is the harvest party every year. So I'm gonna talk just for a minute, just because, you know, if you know me, I love to chat. I'm long-winded all the time, but here we go. So thank you, Jude, for that. I'm going to talk just a little bit about, Jude was talking about self-care, talking about food is good medicine. I also like to talk about everybody has their roles. So, I mean, between the Warrior Institute, that's where we all kind of work with Jude and Marva and I. We have just different people to fill in different roles. So for me, you know, I do the storytelling, I do the movement. Jude's really good at doing the nutrition, the food. Marva's a really good cook, and she's going to talk to you about some awesome stuff soon. But with that, we all come together, right? And we put out what we're good at and what our role is, what's special about us. So for me, I'm always that movement guy. I'm the movement, I'm the posture guy, but I'm also the storyteller. So I'm going to do a little bit of a story, and then I'm going to get us moving just a little bit, just to kind of break up our sitting and our slouching. I don't know if you guys are all sitting, but I've been kind of sitting. I turned off my my video for a little while because I was doing some stretching too. I should have just kept it on there because then you guys could have followed along with me. But we're going to do that here in a few minutes. So I'm going to do a quick story, and then we'll continue. So this story, I'm going to go here. This story is about Buzzard. And Buzzard, everybody knows who Buzzard is. Buzzard, he's got that bald red head. He's a big bird, and he eats all the dead stuff. He eats all the dead stuff. So this is Buzzard's story. Well, Buzzard didn't always look this way. Buzzard used to have beautiful long black hair, like Melissa. Beautiful long black hair, just gorgeous. And he was a big bird, and he can fly. He's got these wings. And for these reasons, Buzzard thought that he was something else. He had long black hair, he could fly, he was something else. Well, this story also takes place when there wasn't any food. You know, there wasn't any food right now. And people were, the animals were all getting really hungry, and they were getting concerned about what was going to happen. And so what they decided is that they were going to call a big meeting. And so all the animals, they gathered up, they traveled from all over, and they met. And they burned some root, and they prayed, and they all just started to brainstorm and discuss what should they do, what's going to be the best plan moving forward for all of them to be able to take care of each other. So the best plan was for everybody to go home and get all their dried goods, everything that they had stored up, to bring it out and bring it to the meeting spot, and then put it in a big pot, and then they were going to stew it up. And hopefully that was going to be enough food for all the animals until the food came back. Well, that was the plan. So everybody went home, they got all their dried fish and their seaweed and their acorns, and they got everything they had stored. And they bring it out. They came together, they put it in a big pot, and they filled it with some water, and they started simmering it, right? Like a really good stew simmers for a while. And then that smell started to permeate and go everywhere. And those animals, they were so hungry. They're, oh, I smell so good. I'm hungry. So they all raced trying to get there, right? And so they started lining up, long lines, a bunch of hungry animals. And back there was Buzzard. And Buzzard was looking around. He was like, why am I back here? I need to be in the front of the line. I don't deserve to be back here. I got this beautiful long hair. I got these wings. I can fly. These animals around me can't fly. Why am I back here with these animals? I need to be in the front. And so he was just thinking, scheming, trying to think, how am I going to get into the front of the line? And then he had this idea. He said, I can fly. I'm going to fly way up above the clouds. No one will see me. And then I'll fly to the front of the line. Then I'll swoop down really fast, get some soup, and then fly back here to my spot. But then I'll get 2 orders of soup because I need it. I deserve it. And I'm really hungry. So he kind of looked around, made sure no one was watching him, and whoosh, he went up into the sky. Above the clouds, nobody could see him. Then he started flying. And he was flying, he was following the line. It was a long line, there's a lot of animals. And he started to get kind of bored. And so he decided to sing himself a song. This is what he sang. On and hey, yo. On and hey, yo. On and hey, hey, yo. On and hey, hey, yo. Hey, hey, yo. On and hey, yo. Hana and hey, Hana and hey, yo. Hana hey, 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 oh. And when he ended that song, he came to the front of the line. He could smell that soup. It was smelling good. And so he started going down and down and faster until he saw the soup. He put his brakes on, but it was too late. Splat! He hit that soup. He burned off all his hair and he took off. That's the end of that story. But today, if you see Buzzard, he no longer has this long, beautiful black hair. His head is burnt red. And if you see Buzzard, he might be circling around his food because he's waiting because he thinks it's still too hot. That's my Buzzard story. Why I wanted to tell this story is a few reasons. There's a few reasons why I want to tell this story. We're talking about food and we're talking about eating soup. So that's why I wanted to tell that story, the short part. But also there's all these lessons, all right, these lessons in the stories. And usually, there's some simple lessons and like be patient, wait your line and turn, or wait your turn in line. But then there's also these other lessons too. Does anybody else see any lessons that can be learned from the Buzzard story? Don't be afraid to unmute. Anybody? Nobody. All right. Well, let me talk about him then. So I told this story recently, and what I like to compare it to is everybody's seen a Disney movie. Right? Everybody's seen Disney movies, and with every Disney movie, there usually has a tragedy in the beginning. Right? Something bad happens, and then the main character has to go through something. Well, in the beginning of this story, there's a situation that's happening, and there's no food. So none of these animals, they don't hide in their houses and hoard all their own food. No, they gather up. They pray, they burn root, they brainstorm, and they take care of each other. Right? They're all contributing things that they can do to help each other. So similar to what we're doing today, right? We're gathering up, we're brainstorming, we're sharing ideas, sharing information, trying to go forward in a good way. But also with this story, I like to say is that those animals, they were smart because some of them knew that something was going to happen. And so they had food stored up, right? They didn't just eat all their food that they had. They knew that something was going to happen eventually. So they had stuff stored. And when something happened, they were ready to take action with all that food. Right. And then also I was telling this story and someone said that just because you can fly doesn't mean you can fly, you should fly. And I was thinking about that, about what that kind of lesson would be. And because some of the lessons I like to talk about is what makes you special and utilizing what makes you special. You know, Buzzard, he had this long hair and he can fly. That makes him special. But with his gifts, right, he's not trying to take care of anybody else. With his gifts, he's trying to take care of himself. He's trying to look good and take advantage of other people because he can fly. So all of us have gifts. All of us have gifts. And so when we recognize those gifts, we need to be able to utilize those gifts in a good way and help our community, help our people. So for me, you know, my gifts, ideally, I like to think I'm a pretty good storyteller, but also we do the movement. So with that, we're going to do some movement. I like to say challenge by choice. So if you don't want to do it, definitely don't, but it's not going to be hard. We've all been sitting kind of rounded shoulders, looking forward, you know, maybe your neck's a little hunched. We're going to talk about posture. We're going to get a little bit loose and then I'll turn it over. So if you want to, let's stand up. And we're going to do, oh, this is my new shirt. I got it from last week. Came fast. It's also St. Patrick's Day, so it's perfect. It's green. Well, we're going to do just a little bit of looseness. I call it the loosey-goosey warm-up. What you want to do is everybody's got your hands. We're going to do little handshakes. So pretend like you're trying to dry your hands off if you don't have like a paper towel. And we're just going to do a few of these before we start doing some wrist circles. We want about 10 of these. 10 circles one way, then 10 circles back the other way. So that was rotation from the wrists. Now I want to get some rotation from the elbows. So I call these window washers. So just a little bit of rotation from the elbows, palms stay out. We're doing
wax on, wax off, Ernie.
Wax on, wax off, Cobra Kai. 10 one way, 10 the other way. Jude's a really big Cobra Kai fan. Once we got the rotation from the elbows, then we're going to put our hands in our armpits and we're going to do some chicken wings. Ten one way, 10 the other way. And then we're going to move them to the shoulders. So I'm going to give you a side profile. We're going to do some shoulder rolls. So I'm going to roll them forward, up, and then back. Forward, up, back. We're going to do that one. Let's go 5, 6 times. But really get all the range you can. And once we got those 5, 6 one way, then we go 5, 6 the other way. We're going to pop. And once we got that, we're going to do a little bit of a neck stretch. So I'm going to have one hand, I'm going to bring it over to my head, and then I'm just going to gently pull, and then I want to feel stretched on my neck, onto my trap. I don't want to really pull hard, just a gentle pull, and a couple of breaths. Then we go to the other side. One hand reaches over, gentle pull. You're going to feel that stretch down the neck, and then we breathe. All right, for this next neck stretch, we're going to be looking up. So a lot of times when we're typing or we're on it, we're going to have this guy here, or we're looking down a lot on our phone. What we're going to do is the opposite. Is I'm going to look up, then I'm just going to give some gentle pressure with my hands. And as I'm doing this gentle pressure, I'm making sure that the shoulders aren't coming up. The shoulders are staying down in that posture. It's going to look like this. Now we're going to do some breathing. And then the last neck one, so we're going to look from side to side. So I'm just gonna take a couple of breaths. I'm gonna stand up tall, roll my shoulders down, and then I'm gonna look to the side as far as I can, and then just breathe. And then we do the other side. Look as far as we can, and then take a couple of breaths. All right, so one arm at a time, I'm gonna do some soft circles. Nothing too crazy, kind of slow. We're gonna do 10 of them, 8 to 10. Doesn't have to be all 10. I'll do 8. 8 one way, 8 the other way. The other side. 8 one way, 8 the other. Just getting those bodies moving every which way they should. Now let's do some huggies. Open up your chest and then give yourself a big hug. Now alternate which one goes up and which one goes down. And we're gonna do a real cool dance move. Where I'm gonna go one hand up, one hand down. I'm gonna do a pulse, and then I'll do the opposite. Pulse. I'm gonna say a little head movement, and you gotta dance out of it. Little pulse, 10 times, 5 per side. And then we got a little bit of a forearm stretch. So I'm gonna reach forward with my palm and then grab the back or the top of the hand, gentle pull. You feel a stretch in your forearm. Always breathe in. Just a couple of ones, and then we're gonna put that palm down, and then we'll pull at the top of the hand. And as always, right, we're talking about the posture, not up here, ooh, rolling down. I do a lot of sound effects. I always tell people sound effects and chalk, they'll make you stronger. Palm out, pull in, feel that stretch and breathe. And then we turn it down, pull in, breathe in. And once we got both, we're just gonna do a few leg stuff and then we'll call it. So I want to hold on to something. I got my chair here. It could be your desk, could be the wall, whatever it's gonna be. I'll show the wall too. Grab the wall, and then we're gonna do some leg swings. So make sure you're not gonna kick anything. We're gonna open up that hamstring and then reach behind you just a little bit. And let's go for 8 of these too. And then once I have my 8 coming forward and back, I'm going to turn and face whatever I'm holding, wall or maybe chair. Then I'm going to swing my leg side to side. And I want to challenge my range, but be gentle. I don't want to hurt anything. But open up. And once we have our 8 to 10, then we do the other side. We'll start with the forward. Open up those hamstrings and reach behind just a tad bit. And then side to side. All right, last thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a little bit of march and knee hug. So what it looks like is I'm gonna take a march and then try to give my knee a little bit of a hug. And then the other side. March, hug the knee. We're gonna do this 4 or 5 times per side, but as I'm doing this, I don't want to arch my back, right? Try to be up tall while you're pulling in. If you need to, a little bit here, right, to contract that core. And then we're doing the other side. 4 or 5 times per side if you can. A little bit of a pause, but that's also going to be some balance too. But it's all part It's all part of that fitness. Ooh, lost my balance on that one. Whew, all right. I was a little bit cold. I'm not anymore. So before I turn it over, was there any questions or any comments or anything before we move on for Jude or for me? People are scared. That's okay. All right. Well, Marva, it's gonna be you, lady. So here's Marva. She's gonna talk about some traditional foods, and then I think she's gonna share a recipe with us too. So I would definitely pay attention to that part.
Thank you, Ernie, and thank you, Jude and Melissa, for the introduction. I'm honored to be here in this capacity to share with you guys a little bit today about my lifestyle and the stuff that I try to encourage in my community and my family. Dalahan, Kwiti, Shi Hushi, Cinco Tesna, Shi Nili Chandan, Dathmash, Karuk, and Wintum Dani. She Daishri, Jim and Eunice, Chayet Neshle, she Awak Clifford, Awak Delma Jones, Chai Neshle, she Tahe Nest E, Nashli, Chesky, Teheshe, Nansen, He Nanesh, she Talwadeni, Chamai, Ushte, He Nash, Nashta, Hichu, he Nana he Dani Stan, Chetage Dun Stan, Singska Neely, Shrey Dathnash, Danithash. That's just a little bit of introduction in the Talawa language. Just wanted to share a little bit of our language with you today during this intro and throughout the presentation. I just wanted to share a little bit about our traditional foods and being a part of that medicine. Let me see if I can get my PowerPoint here. Present. And then I need to do share screen, huh? Let's see. Oops, I think I missed the share screen button. Here we go. Am I sharing?
It says you've started. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay. So my involvement with traditional foods is rooted in resiliency, and that's the title of this little presentation. I feel like we have such a strong bond with our traditional foods. Here, it's accessible everywhere that we cannot not have that relationship. So in regards to my exposure to our traditional foods, I owe it all to my grandmother mainly, and my grandfather on my mother's side, on my maternal Talawa Dani side. That was the most exposure I've had with harvesting and being a part of that. And so here's some images of my ancestors, my grandfather down here, my great-grandfather with his eels and sturgeon on the Klamath River, and my grandma's up here at the turn of the century, 1910, seated outside of our village. We were really lucky to have some footage taken of our family then. So I unfortunately wasn't able to meet my grandmothers right here, but they have a strong bond with that connection to our food sources that I still want to keep resilient and alive. And up on the top left is my grandmother's sisters and her mother, my great-grand, and those are the teachings that I was raised with from these ladies. And our matriarchs are so important in our world. I can't express enough about the times that I've had available to me to work with a strong Indian women who are leaders in the community. Bertha Peters is one of them today. I owe her so much for a lot of the teaching she's given me as well. I come from the ancestral territory of the Tawadani. This is an older map, but I just wanted to show the region that we're in. We're like 2/3 of our communities in our ancestral territories in Oregon, but we don't really recognize the 42nd parallel, but we are in California as well. We were raised on the Neely Chandon on the Smith River. I don't really like referring to our river as the Smith River because it's such a disgrace to call our beautiful river the Smith River. But so we always say the Tawadani River. I just want to share some practices that we do annually. Getting our youth is one of the main factors involved in sustaining our connections with our environment in our world and our worldview is so important because it's so embedded in the things we do and the things we hold sacred. Teaching responsibility to our youth at a younger age is very vital in this connection that I'm talking about. Our ability to connect with our own life ways is really powerful because it helps us keep not only our identity alive, but it helps us not replace our identity with other things that aren't so healthy. So the more we have contact with our environment and our community, engagement with our youth, the better we will be with regards to other things that aren't, healthy for us. So you saw my daughter, my niece, and we were very, very, very lucky. I just wanted to mention this real quick. In the middle picture, you see us laying out fish this last season. We dry fish on the beach at Tagi'a. We've done that we've never lost touch with that act of drying surffish. And so we're real fortunate this last year because we never had a fish run on our beach for 6 years while we were at the beach. I'm sure they're running there, but because of the climate change and the effects of global warming, it's really affected our fish runs. So we were real fortunate the day that we were able to lay fish on the bed here with my little nieces too. So they're going to be making sure this act stays alive as well. We harvest seaweed, as you can see on the left, annually. It's coming up right now is we harvest seaweed, and then it's steelhead season right now, and it's eland season right now. So there's a lot going on, and we're excited about that. We harvest berries throughout the year. So I just was sharing some really healthy foods and things that we eat yet today. People are really surprised that we eat sea anemone still today. I know that this is a delicacy on the coastline for many tribal people, but I think we've lost a lot of touch with it because people are like, what, you guys eat sea anemone? And so in 8th grade, I didn't even know we were eating sea anemone. I always thought it was this duma. That's a little story that they were talking about us in this presentation. And my mom was there, and I'm like, man, Mom, who eats sea anemone? That doesn't sound good. She's all, it's duma. We eat duma. And so, so to raise our family with these taste buds is really important because we want them to keep on eating these foods, and they're all around our shorelines and in our forests and our rivers. Tea is a big part of our community. Eels, like I said, eel right now, these are some eels that we hung last year. This last season, my son got a really nice catch, so we're real fortunate there. You see abalone that we were harvesting 3 years ago when there was abalone season. Sea urchin. Sea urchin is another food source that I don't hardly hear anybody eating yet today. But this was an act that my old grandmothers and my grandma and her aunties would go down when the first thing they do would be to crack open a sea urchin and eat the sea urchin right there on the beach. And that was one of their ways we always introduce ourselves when we go to these places. We always make sure that they know that we're coming, and we're coming in a good way. So that was one of the activities they would do on their first harvest of clams. And so that's just in a way of recognizing they know who we are, they're familiar with us, and to let them know that we're there. So we always say a blessing of some sort to ourselves. We also greet the whatever we're harvesting, we always greet that and let them know that we're going to be using them in a good way. So it's always makes you in a good mind and heart when we're harvesting foods. This last year, like Jude was saying, food is good medicine, and it's really a part of all of our diets. I mean, we are conscious and we do what we're choosing, and we're responsible for that. And so I'm really engaging my kids and the people that I work with in these acts because they're so important. My son and my nephews are over on the left harvesting some acorn this last fall. Our different runs of access to these things vary on where they're located, and sometimes they're plentiful, sometimes they're not, and so they have their off moments, and we harvest in different areas in different ways. You see my daughter here in the middle cooking some fish this last September. We were able to go down and share some traditional foods with the Pomo community, Pinoleville Pomo, and we're really honored to be able to do that. The last 7 years now, we've been able to go down and cook traditionally barbecued salmon, open fire, for that community for their spiritual gathering. Here you see my nieces gathering some more seaweed. Our tools are another big important part of our processing our foods and harvesting them. Up here on the top left, you see several, we call these plates or Gooseys. And we use these to throughout all of our food processing, and they're really handy. And then over on the right, as you can see, we have acorns leaching. Acorns are another big sustenance food that we all eat in California. I'm sure we're all aware of. Down here on the left, you see the guys fishing for surffish. This is usually a men's act that's done. There's times women have had to fish back in different times when there was no men around to fish. Those times, we just got to step it up, and this is how it is. These are some acorns we harvested, and I think it was 2 seasons ago. So we were just now cracking these, getting them ready to go. We're trying to build, in my own family, acorns into our diet daily. So that's the goal of my kids and my family. We share acorns at different activities and different events and our traditional foods, but we're just really trying to be more mindful of being able to produce enough and to can enough so that we'll be able to eat it on a regular basis and put that back in our diet, decolonize our diet, actually. We have shared food at a number of different functions. Up here on the left, you see my youngest daughter. We prepared a meal for the WEI elders last year sometime, pre-COVID. So we were able to share that for their Elder Nutrition Day meal. Another thing that a function that we do, we bring a number of women together. It doesn't matter what tribe you're enrolled with, or if you're not enrolled in a tribe at all, it doesn't have any bearing on it, but we bring together a group of women to work on basketry, because basketry is an art that we want to continue to see in the community. It's also a tool that we use throughout everything that we do. It's a part of ceremony, it's a part of our daily acts. And so we had I think 4 successful activities up at Sumic Village there in Trinidad, California. And so we brought together a bunch of women to be able to share. It doesn't matter what level of, if you're a novice to an expert, but we brought some experts and learners and an array of different women together, and we slept in the plank houses there and stayed for 4 different times now. And so this last year one got canceled because of COVID. I'm unsure how we're going to reconvene with this because it was really successful and being able to share technique. We harvest different things while we're doing this activity for over a weekend. It's like a Friday through Monday activity. And it's just a nice time to get together and support each other in a healthy way. You see the kids over here. We had another activity that we did where we were able to bring the canoes, our traditional dugout canoes, back to the river on the Smith after 150 years of not being able to have our canoes. So that was an event that was really big for our community. Like I was saying, there's an activity that we do with dry and surffish. We're able to share this acorn preparation with traditional methods with Bertha and Dana back in November through Two Feathers. And this is a picture from that day that we were able to serve some surffish and acorns. It's a perfect combination for sustenance and protein. So it's a really amazing time to be down on the beach drying surffish, because not during this time, it's just surffish drying. There's so much more activity that we're teaching. We're engaging our youth with carving, where they're fishing, they learn how to pull fish. We were going down there and clam digging. We're getting mussels, we're eating sea anemone. We're sharing our traditional practice of sand bread baking. We do a method where we bake bread in the sand, and we use acorn meal, and we use regular meal as well as regular flour. But this activity right here doesn't just teach drying surffish. There's so much more that goes along with this 2-week process of drying fish. We've never not done it. We've never lost touch with this action of harvesting dried surffish. Our first catch usually entails us sharing with elders in the community some fresh fish. And then because you can't have any sand on this process at all of drying fish, or you're not gonna be able to use it for drying fish. You can't have not one piece of sand can dry on it, or you won't be able to eat it. So we have to be really mindful, and it takes all of us, like Jude was saying earlier, we all have our roles, and like Ernie was saying, we all have roles in our community, and we all have roles at camp. So we all chip in and be a part of making this happen. We share a lot of meals. So and our fish camp's open to anybody who wants to come be a part of it. We have days where we share like net making and stick game playing and some sand bread and some dried surffish with whoever wants to come down. So we'll have like days of just sharing that. And people can come stay as long as they want. They can come stay the night. I mean, we do different activities throughout the whole 2 weeks. So that's always open to anybody who wants to learn or be a part of it. I wanted to stress enough about, I can't stress enough about how important our matriarchs are in our community. So I just wanted to share the ladies that really impacted my life right here, and maintaining my connection with our traditional foods. We try to eat as many foods as we can throughout the year and expose that to whoever wants to learn and be a part of it. Abalone is not just for eating, we also use it for our adornment and our regalia, as we all are California we all know that. Um, my kids have been drying surffish and harvesting surffish their whole lives. So these are just some random pictures of us doing these acts. We just went out to our beach yesterday, checking out the tides to see the seaweed is still pretty little babies. We ensure our food security through environment, our food, our understandings, and our seasonal practices with these things. It's our resilience. It's our ability to come back after a difficult time. Our introduction to colonial America wasn't the best, and we're still in recovery from those things. And so I can't stress enough about food and accessing those things in our natural environments, how important that really is. Because when you touch down, when you're out there and you've got your feet in the sand, or you're out there in the tide pools, you really acknowledge that relationship. There's no more better way to engage in it. I mean, songs come to you while you're out there. You sing a song while you're harvesting. Beautiful memories are made with your family and your children, your grandparents. There's so much that goes on in these environments that we put ourselves in when we're harvesting tea, or if we're out there gathering berries for a dance that's coming up. I mean, the part of giving back is probably my most rewarding part in this whole act completely, is being able to share. We share our eel harvesting. Like last year, we got to share with the WI elders and the Hupai elders and the Tawa elders, because we had enough to just share a bunch. If people reach out to me through Facebook or any kind of social media and say, hey man, we really need some tea. Do you guys have swamp tea? I'll share tea. I'll mail people tea. We share our fish, our smoked fish. And so today I wanted to share with you just a simple salmon patty out of fresh canned salmon. There's other ways that we do this, like I'm sharing my screen right here. Prayer is very important, a daily act that we do, not only just in our lives, but just praying for a good season, acknowledging that relationship we have with our plants and our foods, and acknowledging that spirit that goes into that. That's so rewarding and so powerful. Participating in the activities that Jude is sharing with us about their gardening project, and getting engaged with, caring about more than just ourselves is my main goal, of just giving that responsibility back to these things and these important values that we need to make sure that these values carry forward. Because if we don't teach these values to our youth and our loved ones, we're not going to have them. We can lose touch with language in one generation. We can lose touch with, acts of how you are when you're in these places, these sacred places. We got to walk and talk this sacredness, because it's so important to make sure that our youth are connected to this. Listening, being a part of paying attention to our elders and having that listening ear is very important. Allowing ourselves to feel through things, and letting those emotions feel, letting our bodies acknowledge that, because it's really important. We have to be able to talk about things and share things. And so that's my goal in the work that I do. I've been working with California Kitchen throughout the last 3 years. I worked with Red Deer Consulting to re-engage our high-risk families in different settings, to know that we have these available techniques and tools right here right in our communities. It's like we don't have to go buy something. We don't have to go somewhere to do it. We can just go to our forest or to our river to have these connections. So I'm trying to talk too long, but these are just some of the things that I wanted to share with you guys about these teachings that are so important and a part of our practice of food. Teaching our youth how to make sand bread and continuing that as a skill, going out and gathering our cooking rocks so we can cook our acorns, having that relationship and knowing what those things are, making a net with your uncle or your grandfather, and then being able to fish with it, and it just gives you so much more reward when you're able to do these things. Using your pestles to crack your acorns and your fish sticks to cook with, these are things that we just made and are still making today to be a part of our everyday life. and really choosing that responsibility to be responsible, to be like, man, what's my role? How can I give back? How can I be a part of this? How can I make sure that this is happening for my kids? Or how can I engage with that? You know, it's just, I try to learn something new all the time. I'm a constant learner. And so I'm always trying to engage those faculties, you know, and making sure that my kids are really strong in this area, because I don't want this to die or die, our connection to who we are. And to restore it is so powerful. It's a healing. It's a healing for all of our people. And so like you just see some stew right there with some fresh vegetables, again, acorns, you know, cobbler and berries are a huge part. I mean, it's probably not the most healthiest method right there with the berries because it's got cobbler crust on it, but it's really tasty. Again, I'm going to talk about fish. I just want to throw some fish pictures on here. We use every part of the fish. I mean, I was raised to eat the skin, so some people don't eat skin, but we do in my family, and we eat eel skin and fish skin, so it's a normal part of our diet. Like I said, sharing traditional baked fish is a really big, I think it's a benefit because it also not just gives us nutrition, but it gives us that place of purpose and meaningfulness and story. It gives opportunity for us to build community. And so with that, I don't know where I am on time. I'm gonna jump over to the kitchen. Okay,
It's
so
11:30, Marva.
okay, so I'm trying to jump over here real quick. And my daughter's gonna help me navigate real quick. So should I do the stop screen off now then, or what?
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Is there any questions real quick before I jump in the food, or?
We have a comment from Paula who says connecting to the traditional foods is so important. Thank you for doing this for your community. I'm working on a similar project and you gave me some ideas to help promote it.
Awesome, and I'm willing to help out or work with you or whatever we can do to collaborate too. I love collaborating with different communities and restoring, not that we're lost or anything, but just being able to build it up more and to promote it, like I'm doing with Jude and Ernie. So I think I need to switch from my laptop to, okay.
Marva, it looks like you're muted.
Is it?
You're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you put the volume on over there? I can't hear anything. Okay, so what I wanted to share today was just making some fresh canned salmon patties. And so this is some fish that we canned this last season. And so I'm just gonna drain it real quick. Need to show that. Here's some smoked fish that we canned this last season.
All right, Marva, I'm coming over for lunch, so don't be, you see me knocking on the door.
So I'm gonna take this fresh canned salmon, break it up a little bit. I can't hear anybody or anything, so I don't know. On the side of my phone, is that on?
That's all we have.
No, I mean like the volume.
I think most people are muted.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Just making sure this is happening. Okay, so I'm gonna take the fresh canned salmon and I'm gonna use some, I already cooked some potato. I'm gonna put a little bit of potato in there. it's gonna give it a little bit of consistency because I'm gonna put a little bit of egg, salt, pepper, garlic, and onion in this, and it's pretty basic technique. I'm not sure how everyone else does theirs. It's not unhealthy. Like this will go with asparagus and some tomatoes and some fresh carrots that we're gonna saute up. So. I'm gonna get a bowl where you can see better. You can see good. Okay. And then I'm gonna throw a little bit of egg in here with some garlic, fresh garlic and fresh onion. You can put like a little bit of jalapeno if you wanted to spice it up. I was just gonna do plain today. I tend to buy fresh eggs from my uncle. He has a bunch of chickens that he sells his eggs for. A little bit of shell in there. Salmon is one of our staple diet foods that we're lucky to have nowadays, even though the decline in the way that we're treating the earth is really being impacted. So I'm gonna finish cutting these real quick. Put some onion in there. A little bit of onion. A little bit of garlic, fresh garlic. You can't go wrong without fresh garlic, right? A little bit of salt and pepper. Let me get this pan going. Get our pan nice and hot. It's real fast. It happens real fast, so I know we'd be able to do it on time. It smells good. It has a nice aroma. You can't go wrong with salmon, though. Add a little bit of lime juice in here. Give a little bit of flavor, a little bit of salt and pepper. Pepper. Wait, tuff, so we call it. Pepper girl. A little bit of salt, marshlesh. We have some amazing cooks out there watching. A little bit of lime. I'll wash these up. Can't go wrong with lime and citrus and with fish. I swear, it goes with everything. There's so many ways to prepare salmon. This is one of the most basic ways, and it's fast and easy. And I use a little bit of olive oil just to get the pan greased up a little bit, because it's got some natural oils. Even though I drained it, I usually drain them for the salmon patties because it gets too wet if you don't. So I'm throwing a little bit of olive oil in there, just enough to get that crispiness going. What's your guys' favorite way to eat salmon? What's everyone's favorite way to eat salmon?
With teriyaki sauce.
Thanks.
Cooked on a redwood stick. Open fire.
We have some comments.
Yeah,
so
I really like the
me.
taste of open fire. I think the best out of for salmon. My favorite is that. My favorite smoked. And I guess smoked salmon, I don't know. That's another way too. I don't know. It's a toss up. I like it barbecued and smoked. Both. Because we can get this going for the vegetables. So as you can see, it doesn't take that long to mix it up. And I'm going to throw a little bit of flour over here on this plate so I can get them ready to go. I use some almond flour. You can use an alternative, flour that's more healthier if you want. But we hopefully are going to be using acorn flour and everything that we're using. That's our goal. That's our goal for our diet this year, is to really, really add a lot of acorns. So we can be processing a lot of acorns up. We got, I don't know, we got probably a good enough amount to process coming up right here right now. So the pan's nice and hot, looks like. We're just gonna take these. I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on them just to give them a little bit of form. How I do it usually. There we go. You know what we're having for lunch? Too bad we're all virtual. I'd love to share this with you guys. There's also a sauce that you can put on there. I didn't make the sauce because it's not super healthy, but it's like a flour-based sauce with a lot of flavoring in it, like rosemary and stuff. And so I thought that I didn't do the sauce because it's not as healthy. So let's do the sauce. I left the sauce out. But people like to eat these with different things. Like, I don't know, if you guys have anyone weird in your family, like they just want mustard on it. It's just mustard. I was like, okay, this is different. My brother does not. Whole family. We just put mustard on there. Yeah, you can't go wrong with salmon patties, that's for sure. Be having Buzzard over here trying to hang out. And food is good medicine. It's one of our best ways to share our love with other people. That's one of the ways that I like to share with people the good food. So here you go.
Oh, it smells delicious.
And another technique about the potato is to have it coarsely. You don't want it smashed up too much. You want it coarsely in there. And it's a meal within itself because it has the egg and it has the potato and the meat. So it's pretty much a self-contained meal along with your vegetables coming up here. We're just going to saute some fresh asparagus and tomatoes and some carrots to go along with this meal. Smells really good. The fresh garlic always adds to any meal. I use a lot of fresh garlic in the food that we do. We can probably about, I don't know, 10 cases of fresh can a year. And then we can probably about, it depends on how much fish we can get, but like anywhere from 6 to 7 cases of smoked fish. Another great way to use the fresh can is with sandwiches. And then also with like a salmon pate. I've been modifying it and putting a lot of fresh vegetables versus the mayonnaise in it. I was going to share that today, but then I thought, oh, I might as well share this. But I've been modifying like the salmon dip that we've been making and putting more fresh vegetables in it versus mayonnaise or cream cheese, because I grew up doing that too. I mean, that's nice as well, but if you want to do a healthier way, you can put in some cilantro and purple onion and some lemon and avocado and fresh garlic. It tastes really good. So you always got to be mindful when you're cooking as well of what you're putting in your food, because your energy is a part of that. So we got to be real mindful when we're cooking. You got to be in a good place in our heart, because it's our medicine. We're preparing that. We're preparing that for other people to eat. So that's another thing that important. It helps us be more mindful of our energy and what we're doing. Because if you're not feeling like you want to cook, then don't cook. If you're not going to want to cook, you're going to be sour or anything like that, I was told not to even cook. Don't even cook when you're in that frame of mind, because that is your medicine you're putting in that food. So the more love, the better. the more you use your heart coming from a heart place, the better. So that's what I was taught growing up. So we gotta be real mindful of our food. That's what we're giving ourselves. You can tell these salmon pies are getting done. And then by the time these vegetables are done sauteing, the salmon pies are ready to eat together. Mix them up too. Yeah. So I have my daughter helping me today. She's running the video and helping us do it. Just a little bit more all around them. People have used different kinds of oils for salmon patties. I haven't tried it with the sesame seed oil, but I heard it's really good. I might try that tonight, I guess, probably for dinner. But that's always a nice one too. So looks like everything's getting done. Are there any questions? I can't hear anyone.
It's looking good, Marva.
Yeah, it looks delicious. I'm hungry now. Right? That looks incredible.
Another thing, I started recently. Go ahead.
To get the eggs set up and cooked up, and everything else is pretty much cooked in it, besides the fresh onion and garlic. But it cooks real fast. Depends on how your taste buds. But I give them enough to be browned up. Someone says they can practically smell what you're cooking. It's good. It smells like so good right now. Those are finishing cooking. And I like my vegetables a little bit al dente, you know, like they're a little bit more, have that crisp to them a little bit. I don't know how some people are, but I like to do them that way. This is what we got going on: some caramelized onions and garlic, and some fresh asparagus with our salmon patties. Voila! Here we go. Are you take a bite or what? Take a bite from. Oh, I put tomatoes. Throw them in here now. Here we go. See this works out right. Yummy. So wait, can we turn this off and put that back on or what? So there we go. What do you think?
So we have a couple of comments in the chat. I don't know if you want to look at those really quickly.
I can't look at this. I can't see the chat.
Marva, can you hear right now?
Hmm?
Just seeing if Marva can hear.
Oh, now I can. Now I can. I couldn't hear.
One thing just wanted to share, I don't know if you've done this, but sometimes I'll do when I do like baked salmon, and I'll take the leftovers of the baked salmon like the next day and make them into salmon patties. The only thing you have to be careful with is the bones are a little, you know, when you cook it, when you can it, it kind of dissolves the bones. So you just got to be careful if you do that. If you make salmon patties with your leftover baked salmon, you just got to be careful for the bones.
Yeah, that's another great way to use all the meat off of your fish. We also use the backbones, and I'll either bake them or throw them in the smoker, depends if we have room or not. And I pull, like if I bake them, there's so much meat left on the backbone that you can pull it off and make it into salmon patties or sandwiches or whatever you want right out of the oven. So that's another good way to use it too. I'm trying to get over to the chat. No Uber Eats. Deliver to Colorado.
Maybe.
Did you say something, Jude?
I liked how you shared about, you know, when you're cooking your meal, it's, you know, that food is good medicine, about the love and how it is a way to show your love when you prepare your food. And, you know, as you know, like at our ceremonies, that's always a big part after the dances is to everyone get together and share a meal, sit down, even if it's your worst enemy, you're supposed to get down and share a meal together with a good heart and good energy. So really thank you for sharing that part of the cooking process and sharing your food.
Yeah, that was a teaching from my grandmother, my mother. You know, it's just so important that we have to really be mindful, and it makes us be mindful. You know, it helps us re-gauge ourselves and what we're doing and being conscious. We got to live more consciously, more, you know, deliberately. Is what I feel like I need to be doing all the time, is being more deliberate in everything I do. So it helps us do that. Another thing with food, typically women who are cycling don't handle food. We're raised that way with that teaching too. I mean, I know there's probably times where we have to do that, but that's another time that women take for themselves during that time to regenerate themselves and to take that time out for them. So we usually don't prepare meals during those times either, or handle food or regalia, stuff like that. But food is one of those things.
Are there any questions for the presenters for today? We have about 10 minutes, so I do want to give some time for them to answer any lingering questions or anything that might have come up throughout the presentations. So we can ask questions to Marva, Jude, or Ernie.
I have a comment and a question. My first comment is for Marva. One is that I have many talents and cooking is not one of those. So I appreciated how simple this was to make. I don't really eat salmon myself, but sometimes I try and cook and it doesn't work out well. So I appreciate the simplicity of the meal, and it still looked fantastic. And my question for Jude is if you have any tobacco or tobacco seeds grown in your garden or in your area. I've gotten a lot of requests recently, and a few times I was going to refer them over to you, but on a bigger platform, if you have information on that, I think it'd be good to share.
Right now at the garden, we don't have any tobacco, as far as I know. We did actually, a couple years ago, we actually had, I think it was CDC funding, we had a position in our garden. Their kind of job was, you know, they were helping with the food, but also they were growing tobacco. And that position left, and we haven't, this recent year, we don't have any tobacco right now growing at the garden. So, yeah, I don't know who to refer you to get tobacco right now. But if I think of someone, I could always shoot you an email.
Thank you.
We have another question in the chat. So from Janice, what time of year do you gather acorns, and is your cooking stones in your area where you gather them?
We usually harvest acorn at the beginning of fall time, at the end of like early fall, like after the first rain. So like October, and it varies within that month because of the way the rain is and stuff. So that's when we usually harvest, is during the fall time. And then a couple of these pestles I inherited and were gifts, and a couple of them I bought. So I don't know anyone who's making pestles right now, but these are the older ones. And so that would be a great art to bring back as well, is pestle making and more making.
Thank you. Then the other question from Paula is if we'll be sending out the presentation. So yeah, I can send out the presentations. That will go out probably later this afternoon or tomorrow by the end of the week. We will upload the video to our YouTube page so you can go back and refer to it. And then I will have Jude and Marva send me their information and whatever was included in today's presentation, if they're okay with that. Let's see, the other one was, Marva, will you be sharing your salmon cake recipe?
Yes, I can do that. I can get that to you.
Okay, and
Or
then
do you want me to, how are you? Yeah.
You can send it to me. The other question was, is there a harvest season for seaweed?
Yeah, typically we go out early spring, and right now is the season. It's happening right now. You know, spring is coming up on Saturday. So we just went and checked our harvest areas yesterday, and they're babies yet, but we have different spots that we go to as well. We just go rotate and check out what different spots are doing. But yeah, it's usually right now.
So we have a couple of minutes. I did mention we were going to have a raffle at the end of the presentation. And if you have questions, continue to put them in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and select 5 winners. And then Jude and Marva, you will get a little gift. So make sure you send me your address. Ernie already got his t-shirt, as you can see, if he wants to show it off. I will go ahead and select the 5 winners. Ephraim, if you don't mind just writing down who those 5 are. If you're present, you will win. If I call out your name, please make sure you unmute yourself and say, yes, I'm here. Otherwise, we're gonna move on to the next person and kind of get through this pretty quickly. So let's see who our first person is. So is Kathleen Beltran still here?
Could I put the
Okay. So if you can just stay on for a couple minutes after, we'll go ahead and add you. Next person. Tammy, are you still there?
I am still here.
Okay, so you are our second winner.
Yay, thank you.
Well,
Is Rhonda Eddy still here? Rhonda, going once, going twice. Nope, okay. Trudy Adams? Is Trudy there?
I see her. Looks like she's here.
Okay.
He's on mute.
She might not be able to talk on the mic.
Okay. Trudy, if you're there, can you just reply in the chat? Ephraim, how many do we have right now? 3?
Yes, we have Kathleen Beltran, Tammy Meisner, and Trudy Adams. Someone typed in the chat.
That was Marva.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next person is Alicia Gomez.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, looks good. One more, Ephraim.
Yes.
Last person. Kaylee Wilson. Is Kaylee still with us? Once, twice. No. Okay, we'll try again. Danielle Maza?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop recording now, and then if our presenters have anything else that they would like to share, any other questions, we have about 2 minutes. And then for those of you who won a prize, please stay on the line with me.